I knew my marriage was over when I smelled her perfume on the pillow next to mine, and I don't wear Chanel No. 5. It was a small thing, subtle, the kind of detail most people would ignore. But when you've been sleeping beside someone for almost a decade, you notice every shift, every new scent, every cold shoulder, every quiet lie. That morning, I sat there staring at the pillow, heart pounding, mouth dry, wondering how long I'd been sleeping beside a stranger. Derek and I had been married for 7 years. 7. I'd given him my 20s, my loyalty, my everything. We weren't perfect. Who is? But we were solid. Or so I thought. Until that scent, floral, strong, intentional, filled our room like a ghost. I didn't say anything that day. Not yet. Instead, I started watching. Quietly. Carefully. He became clumsy with his lies. More phone calls outside. More gym sessions he came back from without breaking a sweat. The same stupid excuse every time. Work's been crazy, babe. I wasn't ready to confront him. Not until I had more than a gut feeling. So I did what every woman eventually learns to do when she stops trusting. I checked his email, and there it was. A reservation confirmation from the Swan's Crest Resort. 5 nights in the honeymoon suite. The email was old, dated 2 weeks ago. The dates lined up with a business trip to Boston. Only it wasn't sent to his work account. It was forwarded from his personal email to his travel folder. The booking was under his name and hers, Amelia Vargas. I didn't recognize the name at first. I Googled, searched Facebook, and that's when the air left my lungs. Amelia was one of the board members' wives from Derek's company. She and her husband, Julian, had hosted us for dinner in their home 6 months ago. She'd sat across from me, sipping wine, laughing at my stories, with her perfectly manicured hand resting on Derek's knee under the table. I could have lost it right there. But instead, I smiled, because in that moment, something awoke in me. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to ruin them. I booked the exact same suite, on the exact same dates. Then I tracked Julian down on LinkedIn, sent him a very simple message. I think we should talk about our spouses and a hotel reservation. He replied in less than 10 minutes. That was how our plan began, and not even hell was ready for what came next. Julian met me at a coffee shop near the marina. He looked exactly how I remembered. Composed, well-dressed, and devastatingly betrayed. When I slid into the booth across from him, he offered a tight smile and said, "I was hoping this was a mistake." I nodded slowly. Me too. He pulled out his phone and showed me screenshots, texts, emails, even photos from a private investigator he'd already hired. I guess I wasn't the only one with instincts. "They've been seeing each other for at least 8 months, he said, voice low. Maybe longer. It was weirdly comforting, being betrayed in parallel. Like trauma bonding, but cleaner. We didn't cry. We didn't rage. We strategized. We went through the resort reservation together, both confirming it. Check-in Friday at 3 p.m. A bottle of champagne already paid for. Couples massages scheduled for Saturday morning. Derek really spared no expense. How romantic. Julian leaned back, arms crossed. "You want to confront them there?" I shook my head. "No. I want to arrive before they do. I want to make sure their fantasy explodes the second they walk in the door." He smirked. "I can work with that." The next few days were surreal. I was living 2 lives, playing the devoted wife while secretly coordinating a revenge plan with the husband of my husband's mistress. It felt like a movie, but there was no script. Just rage. Derek didn't suspect a thing. He was packing. Light, saying he might extend the conference if it went well. I helped him fold his shirts, kissed him goodbye like nothing had changed. The moment he left, I packed my own suitcase. Same check-in date, same hotel, same suite. Julian picked me up an hour later. We didn't speak much on the drive. We didn't need to. Everything we wanted to say was written in the fire behind our eyes. When we arrived, the front desk staff welcomed us like royalty. Mr. and Mrs. Vaughn, we have everything prepared for your honeymoon stay. I almost laughed. Julian just said, perfect. The suite was stunning. Ocean view, private balcony, a giant bed covered in rose petals. It reeked of cliché. We spent the first hour staging the room, unpacking, sipping champagne, and planting the evidence we wanted them to walk into. Julian placed framed photos of us, we'd printed them in advance, on the nightstands. I tossed a lacy red bra onto the bathroom counter. We ordered chocolate-covered strawberries and signed the card, "To New Beginnings." By the time the sun dipped below the horizon, the trap was set, and they were on their way. They arrived exactly at 6:14 p.m. Derek in his navy blazer, Amelia in heels too high for walking, both laughing like teenagers sneaking into prom. Julian and I watched from the corner of the resort bar, hidden behind a curtain of palms and cold vengeance. We saw the moment they reached the suite. Derek inserted the keycard, and Amelia leaned into him. He opened the door, smiling wide, until he didn't. They froze in the entryway. I imagined what they saw. 2 glasses on the nightstand, lipstick-stained napkins, the lingerie in the bathroom, the photos. Our photos. Julian and me on a beach. Julian and me toasting over dinner. Me kissing his cheek with fake laughter in my eyes. They stood there for a long time, not moving. Then, as planned, Julian and I stepped out of the elevator and walked casually toward the door. I could hear Amelia's voice through the crack, panicked. What the hell is this? Did someone double book? Julian knocked. Room service, he called out, smirking at me. Derek opened the door, his face already crumbling. What are you doing here? He snapped at me. Funny, I said, stepping inside. I was about to ask you the same thing. Amelia looked like she'd been slapped. Oh my God. Julian followed me in, calm as ever. Relax, Amelia. We're just here to enjoy our honeymoon suite. The one you two thought was yours. Derek tried to speak, but I raised a hand. Don't. We know everything. The emails, the reservations, the lies. You didn't even change your cologne, Derek. Amelia turned to Julian. It's not what it looks like. He laughed. Actually laughed. That's your line? Really? I walked over to the table and picked up the champagne. Since we paid for it, I think we'll stay. You two can take the couch in the lobby. Derek's face flushed red. You're acting insane. No, I said, locking eyes with him. I'm acting done. Amelia started crying. Julian poured himself a glass and said, You deserve each other. And just like that, we walked out of the room, leaving them alone in the ruins of their cheap little paradise. The walk back to the car was quiet, not awkward, just heavy. Like the air around us had thickened, saturated with everything we hadn't said yet. Julian opened the passenger door for me, like a reflex, and I slid in with shaky hands. We didn't speak until we hit the highway. That's when he exhaled and said, That felt better than therapy. I laughed, but it came out broken. Then why do I feel like I just got hit by a truck? Because even though we executed the perfect revenge, even though the look on their faces was everything I imagined, it didn't undo what they did. It didn't stitch the wound closed. It just made it louder. That night, I couldn't sleep. My body was buzzing, my chest tight. I lay on my side of the bed, the one Derek used to warm, and stared at the ceiling, wondering how I missed it. All the signs had been there, The cold touches, the half-truths, the way he stopped saying "I love you" unless I said it first. But I chalked it up to stress, to routine, to marriage. The truth was, I'd been surviving on hope, rationing it like oxygen in a burning house. Julian texted around 1 a.m. "Can't sleep. You okay?" I typed back, "No, but I will be." The next morning, I called my best friend, Nina, told her everything. She didn't gasp. She didn't cry. She just said, "I've been waiting for this call." I blinked, stunned. "What?" She confessed she'd seen something months ago. A suspicious look, a late-night interaction between Derek and Amelia at a fundraiser. But she hadn't known how to tell me. "You weren't ready," she said. Maybe she was right. But I hated that I'd been the last one to see the truth in my own story. I filed for divorce the following week. There were no drawn-out fights. No begging from Derek. Just cold paperwork and a key in a manila envelope he left on the counter. Amelia tried to reach out, twice. I blocked her. She didn't deserve closure. She deserved silence. The real pain wasn't in losing him. It was in realizing how much of myself I lost trying to keep him. In the weeks after the divorce papers were signed, my life became a study in absence. His toothbrush. Gone. His smell on the sheets. Fading. His voice echoing down the hallway. Silenced. The apartment felt like a stage after the curtain drops. Hollow, too quiet, and full of ghosts. I thought freedom would feel like fresh air. But it felt more like vertigo. I stopped cooking. What was the point of marinating anything when you're eating alone? I lived off cereal and DoorDash, numbing the emptiness with carbs and crime documentaries. Anything to fill the silence. Some mornings I'd forget what day it was. Others, I'd remember everything too clearly. The hotel, the photos, the look on his face when I caught him. That stupid, stunned confusion. Like I had betrayed him. I knew I should feel proud. We executed the perfect revenge. But beneath the surface, I just felt used, discarded, like a coat someone outgrew and never looked back at. I didn't cry every day, but when I did, it was sudden, explosive, at a red light, in the freezer aisle. The moment I heard our old wedding song on the radio, I had to pull over and scream into my coat sleeve. I reached out to a therapist. Her name was Sheila. She didn't coddle. She didn't gasp. She just said, "So you burned the bridge? Now you're wondering if you still need the ashes." That line stayed with me. I started journaling again, wrote letters I'd never send, pages and pages of things I should have screamed in his face, things I should have screamed in mine for not seeing it sooner. Julian checked in occasionally. Not often, just enough. Always respectful, always brief. We didn't need to say much. We were both wading through the same aftermath, just on different sides of the crater. Then one day, I got an email from the resort. "Thank you for staying with us. We hope to welcome you back for your next romantic getaway." I stared at the screen and laughed so hard I cried, because life really does have the worst sense of humor. But that night, I finally did something new. I booked a solo weekend trip, not to the same hotel, not even the same coast. Just somewhere I'd never been. Just for me. It was time to stop, surviving the past, and start building something that belonged only to me. In the weeks after the divorce papers were signed, my life became a study in absence. His toothbrush. Gone. His smell on the sheets. Fading. His voice echoing down the hallway. Silenced. The apartment felt like a stage after the curtain drops. Hollow, too quiet, and full of ghosts. I thought freedom would feel like fresh air, but it felt more like vertigo. I stopped cooking. What was the point of marinating anything when you're eating alone? I lived off cereal and DoorDash, numbing the emptiness with carbs and crime documentaries. Anything to fill the silence. Some mornings I'd forget what day it was. Others, I'd remember everything too clearly. The hotel, the photos, the look on his face when I caught him. That stupid, stunned confusion, like I had betrayed him. I knew I should feel proud. We executed the perfect revenge, but beneath the surface I just felt used, discarded. Like a coat someone outgrew and never looked back at. I didn't cry every day, but when I did, it was sudden, explosive, at a red light, in the freezer aisle. The moment I heard our old wedding song on the radio, I had to pull over and scream into my coat sleeve. I reached out to a therapist. Her name was Sheila. She didn't coddle. She didn't gasp. She just said, "So you burned the bridge. Now you're wondering if you still need the ashes." That line stayed with me. I started journaling again. Wrote letters I'd never send. Pages and pages of things I should have screamed in his face. Things I should have screamed in mine for not seeing it sooner. Julian checked in occasionally. Not often, just enough. Always respectful, always brief. We didn't need to say much. We were both wading through the same aftermath, just on different sides of the crater. Then one day, I got an email from the resort. "Thank you for staying with us. We hope to welcome you back for your next romantic getaway." I stared at the screen and laughed so hard I cried. Because life really does have the worst sense of humor. But that night, I finally did something new. I booked a solo weekend trip. Not to the same hotel, not even the same coast. Just somewhere I'd never been. Just for me. It was time to stop surviving the past and start building something that belonged only to me. After Lena's messages, something inside me snapped. But not in a way that shattered me. It refined me. I stopped asking, why did he do this? And started asking, why did I stay so long with someone who kept me small? That shift changed everything. I deleted every trace of him. Photos, old emails, documents I'd saved just in case. The backup folder titled Marriage Stuff? Gone. I even sold my wedding dress. Not out of bitterness, but as a symbolic shedding. With the money, I booked a writing retreat upstate. Alone. 3 nights in a cabin with nothing but silence, pine trees, and my laptop. It was the first time in years I heard my own voice without his shadow attached to it. And that voice, it wasn't soft. It was furious, beautiful, free. I started turning my journal entries into a manuscript, not a revenge story, a resurrection story. I wrote, like I was trying to bleed the betrayal out of my system, sentence by sentence. The feedback from the writing group was overwhelming. This is painful, raw, necessary. A small publisher took interest. We scheduled a meeting. I didn't even know what genre it was. Memoir? Survival manual? All I knew was it was mine. Julian reached out again. We met for coffee. This time, no bitterness, just honesty. He'd heard from Amelia through a mutual friend. Apparently, she was heartbroken. I rolled my eyes. "I think she loved the fantasy," Julian said. "Not him." I nodded. We all did. That's what made him dangerous. We parted with a hug. No romantic tension. Just respect. A quiet knowing. We'd both survived the same wildfire, and we were finally stepping out of the smoke. That week, I got a call from a podcast producer who'd read a draft of my manuscript. "Would you be willing to come on and talk about emotional gaslighting and relationship fraud?" I said yes before she finished the sentence. And just like that, my pain started helping people. Women messaged me from all over the country. "Your story sounds like mine. I thought I was crazy. You made me leave." Each message lit a candle inside me, because it proved I wasn't alone, and I never had to be again. 1 year to the day after I found that hotel reservation, I returned to the ocean. Not the same resort. Not even the same coast. Just a stretch of beach where no one knew my name. Where I could watch the waves erase old footprints and pretend they were mine. I brought a journal, a bottle of wine, and a letter I'd written to Derek but never sent. In it, I didn't ask for an apology. I didn't scream. I just told the truth. What it felt like to be loved like a convenience. What it cost me to pretend I was happy when I was really drowning. And what it took to crawl back to myself. I ripped the letter into tiny pieces and let the wind take them. Because some words don't belong in the past. They belong gone. I'm not the same woman who found perfume on her pillow and stayed silent. I'm not the wife who rationalized his late nights or mistook detachment for stress. That woman was kind, but lost. The woman I am now? She listens to her gut. She builds her own closure. She trusts herself more than she trusts the comfort of familiar lies. The book is being published this fall. The podcast episode got over 1 million downloads. Women keep writing in. I reply to every single one. Because I remember what it felt like to not know what was real anymore. And I never want another woman to sit in that silence alone. Amelia and Derek, they tried to rebuild, pretend, reset. But the foundation was rot, and rot doesn't hold. Last I heard, they split. Quietly, no public drama. Just a slow unraveling that felt inevitable. I didn't smile when I heard. I just exhaled. Because karma doesn't need a front row audience. It just needs time. Julian moved cities, started over, sent me a postcard once, a sunrise over Colorado and a single sentence. It doesn't hurt anymore. I pinned it on my bulletin board, because that's the goal, right? To not forget, but to heal so deeply that remembering doesn't reopen the wound. I used to think revenge was the answer. Now I know peace is, and I've never felt more powerful.